Bertrand is here. Present. Callie is absent. William DeMol. William DeMol. Absent. Natasha. Present. Pierre. Present. Brandon.
Brendan's on the phone.
Hey, here, just real quickly, I think that Emmett is on the phone. I don't know if we're on the call or not, but Emmett's on the line as well.
All right. Emmett, are you on the phone? Yes. Is Bertrand on the phone? Bertrand, no, I think it was Emmett. No, I don't think Bertrand, it would be surprising to me if he were to say he's not me. All right, I'm sorry, guys. Just give me a sec. Kim here, Emmett here, Bertrand absent, all absent, Natasha here, Pierre here, Brandon here, Eileen present, Sue absent, Melanie, Eric, François absent, present, Jim here, Jaime here, Beatrice here. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Jean-Francois, are you on the phone? Rob, are you on the phone? No. I know he was having difficulty. Try to make this. Philippe's here. Eloise.
Here.
You can come in.
You locked out?
What an entrance that was. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. With 12 persons present, we have a quorum.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. And let's start our open session with item 1, which is the approval of the minutes from the prior meetings.
There's 2 corrections to these minutes. The first is that Kim was not present at the April 14th meeting, which you pointed out to me. She's not listed as having voted, but she was not present. So I will strike this forward. Oh. Is present. The other correction has to do with a sentence in the Parent Association Steering Committee regarding payment of fees and voting rights. It should say the organization will be open to all parents. I think the fee is a decision that the board will make. We're just going to leave that sentence as being the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. Kim, which meeting were you not at?
April.
That's the one we were doing. Mission and vision.
Well, that's interesting. I might correct it. You're not present. Okay. Anyway, that's it. That's the only correction.
All right. Next item is a
Oh,
board.
we need to approve the minutes. I move to approve the minutes.
All in favor?
Okay. Administrative matters. I need to inform the board that I received Ellen Cavallo's resignation from the board for personal reasons, and I will therefore delegate to our nominating committee the responsibility of taking this task on.
What about the other members that haven't seen before? Which Suman?
You're still on, as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
There is a provision in the bylaw say that if you do not show up 3 times in a row, you are considered as.
No, you have to be voted.
And you are vulnerable.
next item on the administrative matters, therefore, since Hallie Cavallo was the board secretary and Jim was acting secretary, I would like to nominate him as the real secretary. So let me read the appointment of secretary. Resolved that having received the resignation of Hallie Cavallo as a trustee and secretary of the corporation, the board of trustees hereby appoints James Bettner as secretary of the corporation.
I'm going to abstain from that vote. Are there any opposed? Any opposed to the phone? Thank you.
Natasha, could you, next item, give us a little report?
Yes.
5-10 minutes maximum.
Very sure.
On the staff board gathering last Friday.
Yeah, so on April 29th, from 6 to 6:30 to, I mean, 6 to 8 we did. The board, really the full board, got together with members of the faculty and staff. All faculty and staff on campuses were invited, and in particular the administrative staff as well were certainly present. And after a short introduction, we went ahead and did 5 small group discussions on a host of topics. We had 2 board members in each of the rooms. I will just list briefly, but I can get you the information about the topics. One was improving communication and coordination. Second was input on mission and vision. Third was the relationship with LFSF, the current pros and cons. Fourth was attrition of students, and 5 was optimizing use of all campuses. And in short, this was a very good opportunity to sit down and listen to our faculty and staff on their input on these matters. These were all topics chosen by them in a series of planning meetings that me and other members of the community committee held to solicit their input to make sure that the evening was spent discussing things of import to them. The next steps, and then after the discussions, I'll just open the floor for a second to get all of your impressions if you want to add anything. But there was a very positive energy. I've reviewed nearly all of the meeting notes, those discussions. It seems there's, really strong willingness to discuss all of these matters in an open-minded way. And following the small discussions, there was a social component. So I think it was a very successful evening. And the next step is I will be sending out, distributing to all faculty and staff, because many people could not make it, but I feel like we had at least 50 people there that are not board members, my rough estimate. On Friday evening, and by the way, thank you to all of the board members for your support this evening, because I think it made all the difference. But the next step is to provide summaries from those small group discussions, and then anyone who's a faculty or staff member can choose to join a working group on one of these 5 topics and continue to work with board task forces on these topics. I also think to the extent that we have, takeaway items that we can make sure gets to the appropriate person within the administration or wherever it needs to get to, and there are action steps that can be taken and that make sense to be taken, we can go ahead and do that. And I think that will go a long way to folks feeling that they're being heard. In some cases, it's really the beginning of a conversation, but it was constructive and collaborative working together. And I think that is really the goal. We have a lot of rough edges and challenges, and it's wonderful to kind of begin working together on it. My hope is to continue to promote that as a way of decisions. On the floor.
Do we have task forces already established against all 5 of these? I mean, on some we do, but some
we also have a mission and vision task force. I, I'm seeing Emmett, I think, ahead of both of those, so we can see, we can, someone else to help as well. Regarding the, food, I think that naturally there might be kind of a, more in the governance committee. There's a task force, I have a food task force.
Not for alternatives, for the renewal.
Yeah, for the,
Tried with to ask for teachers' representative as trustees to lead this task force, but yet I haven't answered one of the representatives.
so particularly, okay, so that, we can look and see whether we need to change the focus of the task force or state it, and then the efficiencies and optimizing use of all services. We might need to think about what's the most natural fit.
Yeah, in the optimization of the campuses, we discuss a lot of real estate things, so it
So-
automatically fall into the real estate committee.
And is it a task force?
There
Okay,
is
so,
no task force.
I mean, we have some, actually, we have some members, I mean, there's 3 members, and then we do have, we have a small task force.
But I think we didn't vote officially.
No.
So maybe we could do it?
yeah, for two.
In the same thing, moving from the education committee, that was the question you, and an answer for it.
So, we have it on the Google Drive.
Yeah, it's possible, like, do you remember?
Well, I'm on it, Jaime,
Brendan.
Brendan,
Sue.
Sue, well, we got Sue, and,
Jim is, I think, on the other side.
Jim is on
The
the
real
list.
estate.
So we got 6 of us on the committee, and we also have occasional,
And we wanted Emmanuel to
yes, we're
come
gonna
on
have
an
Emmanuel
ongoing
to join.
basis.
No, we're gonna do the task force.
So could we book the task force today?
Sure.
Because there are some staff and faculty members really willing to get involved in those topics, so.
And they can do it right away through a working group. Well,
Yeah, they can.
just to finish off, and then
Sorry.
maybe this one
Sorry
time.
for interrupting.
My idea to take was, when I do distribute this information to everybody, to say that if they're interested in joining a working group, that they contact you, so you, it just have a record of who wants to do what. There was a very legitimate question at the beginning session of, the open session about, how are we gonna use this information and what's the purpose of the evening, and in addition to community outreach purpose of the evening, we're certainly open to making the best use of this time and the information gathered. So as board members have further thoughts, or as the community has further thoughts, we certainly want to be open to that.
One of my concerns is always when you create new task forces, is how much work can we really accomplish? We already have community task forces that are not meeting regularly. And so I would caution us to continue to create task forces or potentially multiply the number of task forces without having prioritization of what is it that is important to get done by end of June, end of December, and potentially reducing the scope of those initiatives to 1 or 2 items that you can really deliver on. I truly believe in small victories made in a timely manner, you can grow the effort. So I'm a bit concerned about the scope of the effort, given the priorities that we have, such as the mission vision statements and some of the other items on our plates. Other than that, I thought it was a great meeting and a lot of good dynamics there. So from a dialogue and exchange point of view, it was truly successful.
Yeah, I would agree. The staff confirmed, the various discussions we had with the staff confirmed that there was good positive feedback.
And it was very constructive. I know in my group, it was quite interesting.
Jean-Francois's point, is there a way for, say, the top one, since you had worked on this, to look at some of the things that came out of it and to see who are the people interested in still working on things where there might be initiatives that can be worked on over the summer outside of school. And that we put certain things out there. So, you know, there was a whole thing in the communications group around the handbook and centralizing the information and things of that nature. And that seems like a great summer type of project because you can't get to it now. But it would be great to get to it so that there's something to be working from at the start of the year. So that is an example. So is there a way to look through and create some suggestions, find the teachers that and staff want to be part of it that might be around over the summer, or at least email communication, sharing documents, things of that nature. So just food for thought.
Yeah, that sounds great. An initial matter, one thing that I can do is that I'm looking through the notes. I have thought about just creating one pagers for each. We can also all, and really trying to get you to draw out
Technical issue.
one or two goals if they were identified, and then also if none were identified, then maybe draw attention to that. Put just one or two goals for that. We could have these small pictures.
Someone say, you know, that, excuse me to interrupt you, but some people say, you know, that they have a hard time hearing, people talking,
Do you want me to
and
find Rob?
the sound doesn't seem to be working. I don't even know if it's a.
I'll go look for Rob.
He's
So,
talking with the fifth graders.
So in the interest of time, I wish we could resolve this issue where we're going forward so we can move on with the agenda. I think that what we talked about at the beginning of this meeting is to try to be disciplined in board meetings going forward and trying to limit this meeting to a short 2.5 to 3 hours. So I think that we've talked through this issue, and I think if we can send it back, go forward.
Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone for participating.
So the next item is, Melanie, could you please give us an enrollment update?
Yeah. First thing, very good news that we have confirmed the language immersion program creation. And so we have in that specific program 8 applicants. 2 of them have already enrolled, and okay, officially 2 plus 1. 2 as of Monday because the figures that I have are the one from Monday. But in between, you know, it's changing. The contract has been sent last Wednesday, so they have until next Wednesday. I want to remind you a few key dates. So we have May 31st, that is the last date when families can decide to withdraw or remove their kids, the one that have already enrolled. So usually we have a number of families that enroll and they withdraw their kids at that time. And then we have 2 financial aid dates that are important for you to know. On May 9th, there will be the first scholarship committee from the lycée. So the way they work is that they review a certain amount of kids and they decide on the scholarship, and then they do additional a meeting as long as we have enough budget to answer to families. And the last date is mid-June. The LFSF parents aid is going to send sometimes mid-June. We don't really know when their answers. This is important because we have still a bunch of families pending for the re-enrollment, and they are waiting to know if they're going to have financial aid and how much. We have at this date 947 plus 1 students enrolled. We are at 98% of what we have scheduled in the budget, so we are not that far. I want to emphasize something that is creating a lot of complexity in the enrollment process. The re-enrollment is very slow, and we have a lot of families that are awaiting either financial aid because the schedule are not aligned, or they're just waiting because there is this thinking probably. So either they have really good reason because they don't know if they're going to move and they don't know if they're going to stay families are just waiting the last minute, and it's creating a lot of complexity for all teams and also some cost. So it's something that we should consider next year to see if we can have some creative incentive to avoid that.
But I think it's still projected to be actually over budget. So
We
they
are
established
projecting,
that.
yes, so that's my next one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I stole your thunder. Sorry.
It's just making the projection more difficult.
Is there a
Because
late
there is no late penalty.
So that's what you're suggesting? Okay, thank you. So,
Either
Or an early incentive, or a
got
penalty.
it. Gotcha.
So I would advocate for both, like I would love to have early incentive and some penalties.
Okay, so that's where you were, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding. Okay.
Right, exactly,
That's fine.
plus I would, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
The carrot and the stick.
Actually, that's very positive. I'm all in favor.
And then the second thing is probably to review the schedule of payment. I don't know, for those of you who are paying monthly, for example, in February, you have like double thing, you have to pay the re-enrollment plus the regular tuition,
Plus the summer camps.
plus whatever, all the other things, so plus the donation for the annual fund.
It's a
So,
big one.
when you have 3 kids like me,
And taxes.
the gala. So probably we can be more cautious with optimizing the schedule of payments so that there is no reason to hold on the re-enrollment. So back to your point, projection, we have 24 pending re-enrollment that we believe are likely to re-enroll. And we have 29 new applicants that are labeled as probable enrollment. And so these are the plus, and then we expect to have some students renewal on May 31st and changes of the summer that we can project
And the English department about some different options of recordings, and they sent us three proposals about different structures and reporting, and I kind of like get Philip's insights on the different options, what he felt was the most compelling option.
I will tell you what I will tell you about right now. I just want to make sure, because we had a meeting last week and it seemed, you were there, it seemed that we were pretty much on the same page with the new staff and everybody was there about the global package.
Yeah.
Is the general job description, missions of that position, the status of that position, and the salary. And we were talking about not in the charter,
Yeah.
75K plus several missions that we were basically agreeing
Okay.
on.
The one thing that I understood from talking to them offline, and you can correct me if I understand that properly, is that they were wondering on how the reporting structure would work, whether they would report to you directly or to campus, or whether all the English staff would report to their campuses and to them as dotted line. I think that was the big question, right?
That's one question. First, that's a general comment. I would really appreciate that everybody focuses on the missions, because this is what we are talking about, and this is what is needed. We know what is needed. This position is needed, and this is why we are considering posting that job position first. And now, focusing on the compensation or focusing on the position on the org chart seems to me secondary. However, I heard that there are several options on that issue, and I think I answered that question last week.
So the org chart, just I agree with the org chart. It's not that important, but there is a question of reporting, right? Are the teacher, the English teacher, going to report to them or to campus? That's a question that I haven't. I'm not here with the answer.
Before I answer the question.
So I guess as far as the job description is concerned, which is the topic of this board meeting, it is important to understand whether the person we are going to hire will need some managerial experience or skills.
Yes.
Beyond that point, I think we can completely delegate this to our head of school, who is the head of pedagogy, right?
I agree, but like if they're going to be management, like it's a big difference, right? Whether they're going to be management of the staff and being sure that the staff can evolve and all those things, or whether it's not going to be the case within the organization within the staff.
It's more, of course, of pedagogical staff and organizational staff, not managerial. Because our campus directors, and it's also based on the benchmark I did with all the French schools in America, there's no such position as a director acting as of in the French schools in America. In most cases, this person would be either a part-time teacher, still teaching and being 50-50, or would be a full-time teacher plus a stipend, depending on the size of the school and the size of the so-called English department. And in most cases, this person would either be reporting to the campus directors, which is the case, for instance, here in our next door neighbors, or to the head of school directly, depends, or to a pedagogical coordinator.
I also think it's very similar to American schools. If you have an English department head in an American school, he has no managerial oversight over the other teachers. He has pedagogical expertise, which he shares.
Yeah.
And
So, yeah.
as far as pedagogy and organization, we have, I think, not only recently, but the holes and the lacks have been pointed out for many years. We know what we need. This is in the job description.
Yeah, okay.
I would just chime in, having sat in on, I guess, most of that meeting, that it's not really managerial that we're talking about, it's evaluative. And most department heads, coordinators, whatever the semantic choice is, tend to be very much involved in the evaluation process. And to that extent, it's managerial, if you want to use the business analogy, but it's, for this job to have the kind of authority it should have to create the unity between the two primary campuses, this position will need to have some evaluative ability. Secondly, I think it would be very, very difficult for anyone to have two bosses. So reporting directly to two campus directors would be quite difficult. I think it would slow things down a bit, and we already see the difficulty in having, in that geographical coordination. And third, I think having a place at the table at the weekly meetings where those two campus directors are would streamline communication problems. That is one of our goals.
Yeah.
So I'm making three arguments there for a very
Value.
strong position.
I don't feel necessarily comfortable, I'm sorry.
Just wondering if this conversation is a little premature because of this open position we have with the Director of Marketing and Admissions. We know that when we look at large at our field of candidates, that some of them have strengths directly as admissions officers, and others do not. And it appears that depending which way we go with that decision, we can very well inform what might follow for what else we need in the admissions department. If we need a director.
This is the
Well,
English department, my friend.
that's-
This is the English department.
You missed the.
This is the English department, not admissions.
It's okay, it's okay.
No, but
Point well taken.
Point well taken.
I'm putting it in the minutes.
I would say that, I think Kim's absolutely right, but I'm not really comfortable making a pedagogical choice about that. But I do think, to me, this position is almost in line with the campus director. It's very similar in the sense that.
And
Yeah.
Kim, to answer your point, if you fear that either the head of school or the primary campus directors would not want this person to attend the evaluation meeting, it's in admissions. This is exactly what we want. We want this person to be there when there's an evaluation in the primary campus of English staff. First, because our colleagues who run the primary campuses are not necessarily former English teachers, or exclusively they're not former English teachers. Some of them may even not speak English that correctly. So they are the first who would require that this person be there and help them attend, get an accurate report of the evaluation, and then write the evaluation report.
And
accurately.
And I will say, if it is going to be an evaluative position, which I think is what you want, I think the fact that it is an exempt position is probably appropriate. We'll probably pray for big.
There, for what it's worth, there's been discussion in the group, and I hope that that's not, I hope there's some flexibility there.
Well, let me see, I mean, I think it depends in part on who the, successful candidate is. If it's somebody internal, then we have to mix it a little bit more complex.
Just to point out your points of agreement, it seems like there's definitely an agreement on wanting there to be communication flowing, on wanting there to be, there's going to be some administrative portion of making sure evaluations happen, and this person will, of course, be present during evaluations. But I see a great value in the person who is the English department head being able to be viewed as a colleague by the other people in the English department and not, you know what I mean? I think it could be actually advantageous to them to not all of a sudden be lumped in.
And that's not what they asked.
management.
I don't think that's what they asked. Like, if I
Yeah.
read correctly, the option, like of the three options, the third option that they said, I think it's very much in line with what Philippe just described. So I think we do all agree that giving them evaluation and outright the evaluation, I think it's something
But
that.
I think the second option is pretty similar to the third. It's
But there is some stuff about admission. I think it's the involvement within the admission help is further. I talked to Craig about that because I was not clear, and I think there is more involvement within the admission process, which I think would be key for French family or American families. It is very important. And I think and I talked to Craig about it because I didn't understand the difference, and he told me that it's even more than the option two on that. So I think it's.
I think the lost case responsibilities are heavier in the third description than they are in descriptions 1 and 2. I found that to be.
No, I think it's the same one. It's actually the same thing. I mean,
they
from the
use
email.
they use a different verb, I think, at least in the description I saw. He manages rather than assists with.
No, it's the same. Option 2 and 3 for that are exactly the same.
The
The
same,
managing case,
okay.
and it's the same word for it.
Option 1 is a different one.
Yeah, the option 1 is a different one. There is a question of reporting, but I think we can leave it to head of school to decide that. So on this, I would move forward a motion to basically create and post that position of English department. And it's ready.
Second.
So
Second.
Well, are we creating this position or are we advertising for it?
we're creating
And we're creating a position and we're advertising for it. So I have a motion.
And I would apologize to the staff that was 6 days late. For
Can I make the motion? Karen made the motion. You seconded it. All, anyone opposed?
Are we all unanimously in favor of?
I'm in favor. Is there money in the budget for the position?
Say that again?
Money identified?
We're gonna get to that now.
Yeah. From
So the next item is to, why don't you?
We just did it.
Yeah, but we need to agree to the compensation.
Oh, well, why don't we just wrap it all into one, okay?
Yes, sir.
Then upon the recommendation, the nominating committee, the board of trustees hereby approves the creation of a position of English department head and the posting of appropriate advertisements and conducting interviews to fill that position with an anticipated salary of $75,000 plus customary benefits. Is there a second?
Second.
That's the first I've heard of the salary attached to it.
Philippe said that already.
You just said it.
I guess it went right over, but in prior discussions, sorry about that. I think that needs to be looked at again. I don't think we're going to have any applicants for something like this at that salary.
I think that, I thought it was so funny, I think exactly the opposite, I was like, wow, that's a great salary. You should
I don't know if you've benchmarked it to other
I have
sorts of
in
jobs.
French schools, and I've
In
heard-
French schools,
Yeah, I've heard-
okay.
I've
It
heard
needs to
salary
be
above
benchmarked
it.
in the Bay Area.
Never.
Because 75,000 in the Bay Area, I'm sorry, that's not gonna, it isn't gonna do it for the sorts of candidates we'd like to see.
The job position is not going to be posted with the salary,
Mhm.
as usual.
So will we have flexibility depending on candidates on the salary? Like what budget do we have?
There's nothing in the budget.
There is nothing in the budget. Well, it's not actually true. I think there is stipends. And maybe
This year, most of the stipends have
been removed.
Two of them are granted.
We don't have data today at the board meeting that proves to us the results of the benchmarking that was done. Not that we don't trust the study that you've done, but we should take the input as is, which is, let's not limit ourselves. If we really want to create this position, which is critical for the school, I think we should elevate that to the right level. And so we should not accept candidates because of a salary delta that we might be able to bridge. So I would propose we
Why don't we
split
eliminate
the
that
motion
section?
into two parts. That being said, so I think having a benchmarking result would be important for us to review as trustees, but I think we should also take the input and give us a little more room.
Why don't we just eliminate that provision entirely?
We could eliminate that. However, from a finance committee standpoint, as you know, the finance committee met on Monday, and we'd like to have a figure. I'm speaking on behalf of Rob, but the intent was, let's have a figure that we can put in the budget just pure financial projection point of view.
And we can always adjust the budget.
I would say that in terms of just a budgeting thing, that probably can be done at finance. I don't know
Yes.
that we necessarily have to have that here. All right, I'm going to change my motion.
Yeah, we can do that, we can do that later.
Oh, Rob, when did you
Rob
join?
is
Rob, how long have you been on, just so I can make a note?
About 1 minute.
What's that?
1 minute.
Well, it was the right minute, Rob. You have good timing.
Okay.
Let's not get into the weeds.
Resolved that upon recommendation of the chair of the nominating committee, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the creation of the position of the English department head and the posting of appropriate advertisements and the conducting of interviews to fill such position. Oh, and by the way, and the exempt position of English department head. I'll move that.
Has anyone at the table seen the job description, by the way?
I've seen an early draft of it, but I haven't
Could
seen
we
it.
get a copy of the final description?
I'll send it.
Okay.
If you want.
Okay, we're calling it primary English department coordinator.
And it's described as exempt
Yeah.
at that salary? Again,
Well, we're not, we're taking it again, we got rid of the salary.
And then-
We're gonna do it as a competitive salary and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, Kim, to the extent that you have data supporting your contention, I'd like to see it.
I only have anecdotal data. I don't do benchmarking. I think I'm doing enough.
No, no, no.
Thank you, Natasha.
Can we bring this to a vote? Second
So-
on that motion?
Do I have a second? Jean-François seconded.
Any opposition or
Any
unanimous? Call the
objections?
roll. Okay, fine.
All right. Next item.
The compensation committee update. So the compensation committee has began our negotiations with the staff association. We've had 2 meetings. First one was 2 weeks ago, where introductory meeting, just kind of laying down the ground rules, figuring out who was going to be on each committee. Today we had a bit of a more substantive meeting where we agreed on going forward on a study of tuition remission. And number 2, we got a set of opening proposals from the staff association about what they would like to see. They still need to give us some formal language around those proposals. As a committee, we plan on meeting. We haven't really had an opportunity to evaluate these proposals, put any type of budget number around the proposals, so it's still a little early to really give you any kind of feedback on that. But the real news is that things have started, and we hope to come to some wonderful kumbaya resolution before the end of the year. So.
Before the end of this school
You mean
year?
December?
No, before December.
Before December, okay.
Yeah.
Calendar year.
Yeah. Before the end of the Mayan year.
Thank you, Jaime.
Okay.
So,
Wait, Kim,
yes, Kim?
Just wanted to get your perspective on what their requests are. You said they had 3 things.
No, there's more than 3 things. I have a list here of, it's 8 categories, and within some of the categories, there's more than one thing,
Okay.
so. But, you know, we were more in a listing mode today. I think that we have to kind of evaluate, but it's, you know, It goes from, payment to hours to time, class sizes, all
Well,
around.
to dovetail into that, I think Natasha raised the other night at the governance committee, a long run desire to see teacher or staff, I should say, personnel trustees become non-voting trustees. That should be on the list of things that is up for negotiation. It just would be,
So,
it's.
outside of the two of you, I guess, what's the question?
It's just it's in the charter, but if you're talking about renegotiating things in the charter, that the committee should be talking to each other about those requests.
So currently we have two voting personnel trustees, you're saying?
I don't think that it would be on the table from their end, but if you are asking about it in governance, it should find its way to you and.
Right.
We have actually.
Tim, this is the others part of the meeting.
Okay.
Tim, are you suggesting that you want us to negotiate with the voting rights that you now have?
No,
I'm
that's
not
not
suggesting that, I'm saying it's coming.
I hear you.
Coming up in different committees, it should be stuck in one.
That's not heavy.
All right, so let's keep moving along. I would like to give an opportunity for anyone that's online if they have any questions. And then first, if you have any questions. No, you're good?
Yes.
Any questions online?
That's a share. She's tapping his nose. And she's making faces. Twice.
In any case, there is such a long delay between the email
That's not my product.
and us.
I don't want to play. And there's only 5 people watching. If you need like 3 questions.
Probably there is only a couple of people outside this room watching.
All right.
Again.
But do they have questions?
Well, then.
But do they see it if I?
Yeah.
I'm just checking.
That's right. So I can check the grade.
Are you gonna close those sessions?
Okay.
About-
I think there are no questions.
No questions.
No questions. All right, so let's close the open session. Take a 5-minute break or.
If there are any questions, maybe in the audience here.
I can just ask one. So let's have a 5-minute break and we'll regroup for our closed session.
I love you, Mr.
Off the plug?
Nothing to agree with.
Or is that bad?
I don't get anything, it's okay. I can deal that.
Oh, yeah, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, you're like,
Turn
on
the camera.